The atmospheric river event is finally here for Northern California and Oregon, and a little bit for Washington State for November 4th, 2025. Good morning, I'm meteorologist Pew. If you watched yesterday's video, then you know what's going to happen today. But in addition to that, we do have a fire risk from eastern Wyoming to western Nebraska. So what's going to happen is we're going to have a surface low pressure develop somewhere around the border of Wyoming, South Dakota, and Nebraska. And what that counterclockwise flow is going to do, it's going to be bringing westerly flow downslope from the mountains. And so we're going to have a phenomenon called downslope warming. Essentially, the air coming down from the mountain is going to warm up this area. This is where it gets interesting because generally when we associate sinking air, we generally think cold air because cold air sinks and warm air rises, right? But because this is terrain-induced sinking air based on the Rocky Mountains, at the top of the mountain, you're going to have less air pressure above an air parcel. And when that air parcel goes down to the surface, there's going to have more air pressure on top of it. And so it's going to be pretty much compressing it, which is going to make it warmer. So even though this sinking air parcel increases in temperature, its moisture content actually stays relatively the same. And so because of this, the gap between the temperature and the dew point increases, which is going to decrease the relative humidity. Basically, the temperature and the dew point is far from saturation. If that's confusing, that's fair. So looking at a temperature map, looking at the Eastern Rockies, we can see later in the day, it really warms up. And that's why in the Eastern Rockies, we're going to see temperatures in the 60s and 70s. And if we look at relative humidities in the same area, these dark brown areas are relative humidities around 10 to 15%, which is very, very low. And with this low pressure, it's going to be bringing in sustained winds from 15 to 20 miles per hour in the Eastern Rockies. And so with the high sustained winds, increase in temperature and decrease in relative humidities, it's going to make it prone for dry conditions for fire. I do want to point out there's probably going to be some breezy conditions from 10 to 15 miles per hour from the southern plains to the Midwest, but also for the Northeast as well. Now going to the Pacific Northwest with the atmospheric river, basically one big plume of moisture. If we look at 500 millibars or midway through the troposphere, we could see this big band of moisture coming through. And it's pretty much being carried by this trough that we see in the Pacific, and this trough will slowly start moving into the states throughout this week. And so for today, the Weather Prediction Center did issue a marginal risk for flash flooding, mainly in Northern California to Oregon. For Northern California, you guys already seen a lot of rain from yesterday, last night, and this morning, and that's pretty much going to continue on. But throughout the day today, it's going to diminish just a little bit, but it's going to increase in frequency and intensity by late tonight around 9 p.m. Pacific time and throughout the night. And we're going to see these storms slowly travel northward. So places like the border of Oregon and California, we can see this around 1 p.m. Pacific time. And then for the border of Oregon and Washington, we can see storms reach around like 6 p.m. Pacific time. And then as far as north as like Seattle, maybe around 10 p.m. Pacific time. And just like California, we're going to see the most intense amount of precipitation throughout the night. And unfortunately, this is pretty much going to continue on for tomorrow as well. So we have a marginal risk for flash flooding again for Northern California and Oregon, but also for the northern part of Washington State.